No, don't do that.
We're live. No, we're not live yet.
We can change that to gallery view if you want. Because we forget right there.
All right, it's going to go live in just a minute.
Camera up there. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
We are going to go live here shortly.
We'll stop talking live. See, I can spend the afternoon.
Kind of gets in your system.
There we go.
All right.
So, you know what, Tom, you look like Stephen Jobs in one of those Apple rollout things, you know, with
Oh my
when you have the
goodness.
black, you always wear that black turtleneck kind of thing, you know, and yeah.
I was
I
hoping to
feel
say,
like you're gonna announce the newest like iPhone AI app.
I was hoping there's gonna be a trout stream in the background, but
There's
probably
one
one
outside the
time.
window. Yeah.
you on the Henry Sport?
I'm in Montana right now in Bozeman.
Okay.
Bozeman.
All right.
Well, that's tough.
Are we live, Ryan?
Yes, we are live. I'm not sure why it's not showing on the screen, but the
Yeah,
YouTube is up. So
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, I'll call it to order then. Welcome everybody to our Waynesboro Advocacy Committee meeting for June. I hope you received the agenda and a copy of the minutes from our last meeting. And we did have a board meeting in between, so I definitely have some stuff to report from that. But I guess we'll go ahead and start. And Joe, if you don't mind managing a little bit of it, it might be easier for you to do it being in the conference room there. I want to certainly welcome also everybody that's in the conference room and those of us that are on live, Faye and Ryan and Carol.
Be glad to help, Tom.
Yeah, and so I guess we'll start with an approval of the May 2025 minutes. Do I have any corrections?
Yes, you do. This is Maggie.
Hi, Maggie.
If we're using titles for all who are present, I would like mine to be corrected, please.
Absolutely. Dr. Maggie Van Huss.
Thank you.
Any other corrections? Ryan, are you taking notes on that? Pass that along to Jennifer. Okay.
I will.
All right. Hearing no other corrections, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So as I said, welcome to our new board members that were part of CCR, and CCR has sunset. And so we're happy to have you on our committee and continue to involve you in our discussion of the Waynesboro campus and advocating for it. Joe, do you want to just go over the mission for us?
Yes, Herbie, this is going to be for you as part of this group. We have to, at some point, formalize the name of this committee. We're just calling it the VMNH Waynesboro Campus Fundraising Committee. It's ad hoc. It's just a bit of a mouthful right there. Maybe we can find a way to streamline it. But what I've given to Herbie, and I can share more broadly, would either of you like one of these? It's basically a timeline, duties, and some strategies for success for that particular committee. So I'll just walk through it very briefly, but again, we can share it. The first is just to bring everybody up to speed on what the timeline is. So basically, we're counting on the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee to continue the advocacy through December. Our hope is that will be in the governor's budget in December of 2025. Obviously, if not, we have more work to do. We're shooting for inclusion within the 2026 to 2028 biennial budget. And if we are successful, that means we'll hold a groundbreaking in July of next year. And we can, at that point, once we have it officially in writing in a budget document, that we are included within the construction pool, then we can start a fundraising program. So that would be about a year from now, should everything go well. So that's our timeline. We've reported on that a couple of times. In the meantime, the duties are to identify and recruit committee members with fundraising experience. And this could include, they also have to build a donor prospect list, including individuals, businesses, and foundations. And this ad hoc committee will need to stay informed with communications from VMNH. And I would encourage that we schedule periodic meetings with the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee so long as that committee still exists. And then I've just basically provided a 20,000-foot view of some strategies for success. And that would be to introduce prospects to join this committee to board members, such as those serving on the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee, to myself or other museum staff, and also suggest a visit to Martinsville. And that's something the staff is prepared to help with. It's no problem with us to come up and shuttle some folks down to the museum, host them for lunch and so forth. I really have, and I think everyone agrees that it's been extremely valuable when people visit our Starling Avenue facility in Martinsville and see what the level of quality that we intend to bring here to Waynesboro. And I have a few other tips as well, just to get things started. And then on the second page of this document, again, this is very preliminary, but we have about $3 million in potential naming opportunities. These are not specific because we have to zero in more on the exhibits, and some of them can be more finely divided, perhaps upping the number of donor opportunities. And the ones we have basically range from 25,000 to 250,000, depending upon if they're an exhibit element or a gallery or the classrooms and so forth. And then we also have a $1 million naming opportunity proposed for the naming of the building. So, depending upon what partner we find that would like to sponsor the building. So this all can be used to get towards our $2.5 million goal. Incidentally, since we're talking about, I know I'm jumping a little ahead, Tom, but since we've mentioned that we're setting at this point a $2.5 million goal, I think that's pretty good, because the last cost that we got on the building would be about $20 million. However, there's a lot more to it, right? So by the time you throw in everything from furniture to I got a whole laundry list here in my binder, but exhibits, any green energy items that are in the proposal and so forth, the final cost for the project right now, if we started building today, would be about $33.5 million. So since the state does like it that agencies try to find at least a 10% match, it is possible down the line, before we start a capital campaign, that we might want to up that goal from about 2.5 to about $3 million.
I think you should up it to 4.
I don't know if you heard Len, he was saying we ought to up it to 4. I think it's a good conversation to have, because we started this conversation however many years ago when the foundation made the initial $2 million
That was 5
commitment,
years ago. 4
at
years.
least.
Yeah.
It was before pandemic, I
Yeah.
remember that
Yeah.
much.
I think 4 is a better number for 2 reasons. Number one, I think we're going to need it, obviously, especially if we want to hit the kinds of things like a green roof and that sort of stuff that we want to do that the state won't pay for. But more importantly, if we set the target at 4, there's a better likelihood we'll get to 3 or 3.5.
Sure.
So I like the $4 million. And so Bill Alexander just.
Yeah,
Hi,
I want
Bill.
to welcome Bill to our meeting.
Thank you.
I'm also sharing our agenda just so we keep I hope everybody can see that.
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Yes.
Just so we can keep on task here. I guess a couple of questions I have about the new committee, I guess you're calling it, Joe. That's under the foundation board. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And so we're kind of having a joint meeting here between a committee, the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee, that's been in existence for quite a while under the museum board, and then a new committee that's formed now with the CCR board, former CCR board members, as you say, for assistance with fundraising through the foundation. Is that correct?
That is correct. At the last foundation board meeting, the board did vote to approve the idea of, for lack of a better word, absorbing the former CCR board members into an evolving committee that would, like we talked about, would evolve into a fundraising centric group.
Very good. And so we'll continue to meet jointly, I guess, until something changes, like we find out in the December budget that we're successful with the governor, and then maybe the board of the museum decides to sunset the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee.
So just a question related to Tom's question. So this committee is accountable to the foundation, right?
This new committee.
The new
is.
committee will be, and there'll be
Yes.
2 foundation board members that will be sitting on this committee, right? Or like Rick Haynes one.
Rick Kane is currently a foundation board member, and you were on the advisory board, and so we explained that to the foundation, and they felt comfortable with
All right,
that.
so Rick and I will be, okay, so then we'll be accountable to the foundation. That's one thing I wanted to ask. Then another thing, I had a question on this document under 3, introduce prospects. We're talking about donor prospects. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further questions about the committee, the overview of the committee?
What's my title? Which committee am I on? Give it to me one more time.
We don't have a name for that committee yet, but I think
Oh.
the working name is, it's the
Friends of
ad
Lynn.
hoc committee associated with the Virginia Foundation to help with the fundraising for Waynesboro campus.
It's a foundation ad hoc committee, Bill,
Okay.
to focus on Waynesboro project.
I have a real quick question about the original committee. And I understand that as an advocacy group, if we do make it into the budget, that task will be finished. But the advocacy group has also been involved in the discussions of design and exhibit planning. So I'm wondering if is it really the case that the Waynesboro Advocacy Committee would end simply because the funding has showed up in the budget, or should we plan on continuing and providing, working to consult for the development of exhibits and so forth?
That's a good question. I would say that there are some standing committees with the board. For example, there's the facilities committee, and I think that would be involved now with if we were go on construction. And then the other, I think it's a subcommittee now on exhibits, which is under education. And that might be where we provide feedback, through those standing committees. So, it's an open question, Carol, but you raised some good points.
And Tom, I just want to point out that many of these committees, both on the foundation and the board of trustees, historically have people who are not members of those boards participate in the committees. So I think that would be easy to invite each of the WAC committee members, if we did sunset it, to say join that exhibit subcommittee, and take things from there. So that's certainly, I think, an easy possibility.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Faye.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
With regard to the campaign, and it is going to be a major campaign of what, 2.5 to 3 million. And I understand that the foundation and this newly formed committee will be the lead on directing that campaign. But will there be any external campaign support in terms of professional fundraisers? Is that a consideration?
That is going to be our recommendation, and we can certainly consider Carter, who we worked with in the past. In fact, when it kind of looked like maybe we were going to get the nod to move to the capital construction pool, we had preliminary conversations with them. The fellow who had worked with us in the past is retired, but he introduced us to one of his colleagues who is out of Roanoke, who would be willing to help. So none of that is under contract or anything, but it is something that we have already established as an option. And as soon as we find out what goes on with the budget, I think that should be an early conversation about which way to go.
Okay.
But definitely, I mean, it's going to be the staff's recommendation that we use some organizational help as well as some training for board members in the fundraising process, and to come up with the proper mechanisms to get to the stated goal.
It sounds like a good plan.
And we're already getting help from our architects identifying projects like naming opportunities. I think that's something that, we're getting professional help with.
And Len has kind of turned us on to an interesting opportunity. Ryan or Len, can you
Yeah, this is a good time to talk about it. So this was actually a result of a contact with a individual from the Central Shenandoah Planning District that came through the trailer last fall. They have about $100,000 fund for water quality restoration projects and planning stuff. That they're very interested. The guy, the person I'm talking to that Ryan's spoken with as well, is very excited about the project, wants to support it. In talking with him, this guy's name is Zach. We both agreed that what that planning money's for, or that grant money's for, is to recreate like repairing buffers or rain gardens or wildlife, native wildlife plantings, that sort of thing. But it will also cover planning money. And I explained to him that, we had this concept for in front of the museum of integrating those kind of things or technologies into the landscape, but the city ran out of money. They didn't have money to do that, which was when we were originally discussing it. And he thought that would perfectly fit with the planning component of it. So I sent the information both to Joe and Ryan. Ryan's already talked to Zach. I'll let Ryan talk about his conversation, but basically, they're very excited about partnering on this project. The money, but the key issue there is the money we need to apply for it soon, and the money has to be expended by, I think, March of 26, if I'm not mistaken. But the planning, using it for planning, just developing a landscaping design, whatever, would definitely qualify, and we should be able to make that deadline under that basis.
Yeah, Ryan can address that.
So I'll let you take it over from here, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Lynn. Yeah, you covered it pretty well. I talked to Zach as well, and he just, not that I didn't trust you, Lynn, but I did talk to him as well, and he reiterated everything you said.
I'm talking.
So our goal is to submit something by the end of June, just based on Zach's input. So we shared it with Stephen Flashfield, our architect, our designer, and they're confident they can work with us to provide a lot of information. So yeah, the goal is to get it submitted by the end of June. So hopefully we'll have a draft to go out relatively quickly.
And just to refresh everyone's memory, you might recall in some of the early landscape designs, it did include a fairly significant wetland swale, which I would imagine be part of the process that Stephen and his colleagues are going to pull together for us. So it would be good to be able to proceed with this aspect of the project using the grant dollars, and then we can actually use the funds that would be saved in our appropriation that we could apply towards some other aspect of the project, which remains to be seen.
So one question I had is, does the city need to be a party to this?
We have at least 2 members on their board of directors, so we should give them a heads up.
Yeah.
So as soon as you have a draft document on, I'll float it to them, so.
And what about Dwayne's department? Who owns that piece of the property?
The museum will, which piece?
Well, it's the piece right in front of the parking lot that leads down to the greenway.
Yeah, we'll get Dwayne involved too, so.
All right, because that wasn't originally in his plan. Yeah, okay. Didn't want to miss any I to dot or T to cross.
Oh, that's a great connection. I'm glad they came through the trailer. I heard you had really good traffic through the trailer. Let's move to detailed design, if that's all right, just to keep us on our agenda. And I do want to provide one update, which I think came out of our meeting last time, and that was that Carol and I followed up with a letter to the board of the foundation to ask them to commit some funds to finish out our detailed design, as we were a little short on funding, and I think that was approved. So that's the one update that I have. Joe?
Yeah, you're 100% correct there. So we're also, we're not holding our breath, but apparently there is a bit of a loophole that we are exploring through Department of Engineering and Building, where we can have one of the cost estimates basically eliminated from the process. And that would cut the cost down significantly. So we have enough money to do it all, but we're going to see how this proposal goes. All that said, I think we're in good shape. We've got the sign off from general services in terms of our initial design, our cost estimate, and other details. And so again, the final cost, everything inclusive, we started building today would be $33.5 million, with the building coming in just over $20 million. So the last steps is to have an outside firm do a value engineering study, and then to get kind of another outside firm to do a cost estimate. It's kind of like peer review. But again, that's where we because we've already had, I think, 3 cost estimates. I think we stand a chance of having yet another cost estimate waived. So we'll see. I don't know the exact timeline outside of the fact that our construction manager, James Madison University, is actively working on procuring those services. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll be able to provide some details where all that's going. So those are the last 2 steps for detailed design. So that's why in the meantime, having some side conversations with both Tom and Greg. Tom, I know you're traveling and so forth, but we've got a few kind of housekeeping duties to take care of, as far as alerting our legislators, making sure everyone's on the same page, everyone recognizing that we are on the verge of completing the entire detailed design process. Frankly said, we're completing the design process way under budget because we were never given enough money. So we found a way to do it. I think that all speaks well for all involved.
The Secretary of Education needs to know that you came in under the budget. In other words, when we're asking for construction money to prove that we're a reliable project that's being responsible with the taxpayers' money, the fact that you were able to complete this under budget, I think is just a selling point.
I think that's a good point. Jonathan and I have a meeting with her. I'm gonna forget the date. I think it's a week from today.
Okay.
The Waynesboro project would be one of the brief updates, and we'll make mention that as we see the home stretch coming, that A, we're under budget, and B, the foundation and the museum, for that matter, the Board of Trustees stepped up to approve movement of monies to ensure that we pay for everything, and the Commonwealth didn't have to pay for the whole process.
Sensitive to the costs and sensitive to taxpayers. Where are we on the exhibit design?
We're somewhere between 25 and 50% done. So in other words, that's kind of your big picture. So we know the spaces that are allocated within the museum and so forth, and what the main themes are. We do have a few details out there, but no commitments to those details. So once we move to the construction pool and we get our working drawing funds, which I don't remember what the percentage is, but it's a percentage of the total project cost.
Yeah.
We can allot some of that to completing the exhibit design entirely. And that's where we're going to need the content. I mean, it's been great to have so many people involved in the content development to date, even at this kind of 30,000 foot level. But when we get down to the specific stories, it's going to be important to have these folks more heavily involved. So this is a big report, but and I'll need to confirm this somewhere in here. I believe we have $7 million set aside in the whole
exhibits.
Yeah, for the exhibits.
And is that part of the 20 million or part of the 33?
Part of the 33.5.
So that takes you from 20 to 33. So the 20 is for the building, another 7 for the exhibits.
And then the rest of it's going to be everything from furniture, grading the landscape.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right.
All right, that's good.
So it's somewhere I should flag.
I did see your note about our next step being to make sure our legislators are aware that we're at this stage. I think, it's a little wonky to say detailed design to me, but I think that's a real milestone for us. And we ought to maybe do more than just reach out to our legislators on this. I think we ought to advertise this in the community and say, look, this is a major step we've made, in terms of the state process and exactly what that means. And I don't know how to get that word out, but I think we ought to celebrate this, because I think it would help the community also realize we're moving forward, and
that's a
sometimes we're
very
still
important.
Tom,
We
I
still
was
hear a
thinking
lot.
exactly the same thing. It's, yeah, if there's a way to explain this so that it's understood to demonstrate that there is momentum, I think that, and there's commitment, I think that that's a huge thing, something to really celebrate.
Well, to kind of put this in the community's perspective, the number one question we've been getting at the trailer the last couple of weeks is, I thought your funding got pulled and the project was dead. And I've corrected that. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that are local have said that. So, Tom, you're absolutely right. This needs to be promoted. We need to have an event or a press conference or something. Get it out there so that people realize there is momentum. It didn't get canceled. I've flat out told people that's bad information. It wasn't correct. We didn't have funding to get pulled from to begin with. And they didn't have the building approved till just now. So
Right.
there you go.
Right. And
You're like,
while I'm traveling, I will be back in July, and I'm happy to work with Greg and you to plan, a public event, and also to work with the legislators to make sure that we meet with them and get them up to speed, and that they help us also send a message to, the secretary and the governor, whoever else needs to hear about it.
It'd be really cool if you could invite them to Waynesboro for a briefing and then get the press to come invite the press in and, make it a public, here's a briefing to our legislatures on the status of the building being approved, yada, yada, whatever.
Any other questions about the detailed design? Greg, were you going to make a comment?
I just asked when I'm trying to think of a reason to invite them.
Yeah, that's on number 6 down there.
Yeah, Greg, I just don't know. I don't have enough details to make an estimate on how long it's going to take to fabricate I'm sorry, not fabricate, but to renovate the trailer. It could go much more quickly than I ever anticipated, but.
Do we have any idea?
What about our sign installations, Joe?
I'm sorry, say that again, Tom?
I was just wondering about our sign installations
yeah.
that we're doing on the Greenway, whether that might be a reason to have more of a public show.
Yeah, I meet with Stephanie Selzer right after this meeting. And I know that there's a ribbon cutting later this summer for the South River Preserve. Do we have a date on that?
Yeah, I think it's the 11th of August. Mid-August, but I think it's the 11th.
That sounds about right. So, so the signs are manufactured. I'm gonna go just give them a quick review this afternoon, and we're gonna walk part of the Greenway just to see where proper placement would be beneficial for all. And then the last thing we need to do, because of course these are kind of unique signs in that they have tactile, three-dimensional
reliefs, right?
Yeah, we have reliefs, relief map, and some other details on animal biology and so forth. Those are apparently done. We just have the guy who's making them is just going to ship them up here, and we just need to attach them. So all that's going just fine. Parks and Rec will have that done by the time the ribbon cutting comes about. But yeah, that will be good timing too, because we're not quite over the finish line yet. To say that we're done today would be not.
I don't think we want to combine the two, because the story is going to be one or the other. It's not going to be both. Neither one of us will benefit.
Yeah, we're not gonna get a particular legislator to come just for something.
Just for any, I think there needs to be something for sure. But I don't know. Again, being perfectly selfish, and I really care about the South River Preserve, but I really don't give a damn about it. When it comes to the museum project, I want to get the most mileage.
The trailer renovation would be
Another
a milestone.
Actually, a
another
better milestone.
But if that's July or August, I mean, it's still, it's later than that, I think we could be in trouble from the state budget perspective, right?
What do you mean?
Being in the governor's budget, and what's optimum for the legislature to know about this?
About the trailer or the
Miles.
project?
We're using the trailer as a.
Yes. Okay, so optimally, we would like them to have been briefed and have their input and their questions answered this summer. I mean, July would be great. If we waited to August 11th, that wouldn't be a problem as far as I see it. And because from them, they have to have time to communicate their support to the governor's office.
So July or August would still be
Yeah.
okay, so, yeah.
Well, I guess if you choreographed it properly, like had a meeting inside with the discussion about the museum and all that kind of stuff, and then end it with the ribbon cutting, with the photo op out at the South River Preserve, you could pull that off, I think. And you really got two good stories out of it. And if you prep them right, the press properly, you got two separate press releases, they'll make two stories out of it.
Don't forget Bob Stewart, who was on that board. He could help us.
Well, I was hoping Bob would come, but he
Is
will.
that you
definitely
raising your
help.
hand, Bill? I think Bill has it.
Yeah, sooner is better than later. The summer vacation period starts in June. I think your summer plan is excellent, but I do think the sooner we put out a press release that brings everybody up to speed in layman's terms, the better off we're going to be here locally, certainly in Stanton, Waynesboro, possibly even Charlottesville and Harrisonburg. This thing has sat on the back burner for so long, it's out of people's minds. A good press release in the local newspapers on Channel 3 or 25 or both would get us at least up to speed to start the summer before we lose a large chunk of our audience until the fall. So my suggestion is a press release as soon as it can be done right, without gilding the lily, without promising anything, but bringing people up to speed. And then you've got your whole summer to go ahead and work your legislatures, work your events, work your trailer, work whatever else you want to do. That's just my thoughts on it.
And it's a second bump. Nothing wrong with having more publicity.
Yeah. More than that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I don't see that we necessarily have to have that press release timed with when the legislators are here. We can do both. So we can have the press release go out. We might even do something like an NPR interview or, like you said, some kind of coverage media wise, and I'd be happy to get
Yeah,
interviewed.
it's
maybe
just a matter of
Greg and
getting it
I.
back in getting it back in everybody's mind.
Right.
And we've got a core group that's supported this thing over time, but they're lost in space.
Yeah.
And the sooner we start focusing them a little bit at a time, the better off we're going to be.
I'll also just add that I did participate in a conference in Harrisonburg called Choose Clean Water, and Emmett Hanger was recognized at that conference with an award. I had an opportunity to talk to him, and he knew exactly who I was, and he came up to me and said, "Look, I want to help this thing go across the finish line. So even though I'm not in office, let me help." And so
Would you like to serve as a board member of the Board of Trustees?
he just got added to the board, I believe, of the Shenandoah Valley Conservancy.
Yes.
So
Well,
I don't know if he'd be
we've only
open
been
to it.
talking to Emmett for 5 years. I'm glad he finally decided to help.
5 years, more like 15 years. So,
Yeah,
okay.
The other one I was thinking of is Steve Landis, and I will ask Steve.
Yeah, good
to see
call.
what you guys thought, but Steve would be a good one. And he might be ready now. He just dropped off of the Vertans board or as president or whatever.
All right, anything else on the detailed design?
So, well, I had another thought. What if we did a press release and then Joe did an update to city council at one of the July city council meetings?
That's a good idea.
Excellent.
Good idea. More the merrier.
That would be step one, and then a month later, come back with the the ribbon cutting and invite the
Legislative.
head, Campbell, Runyon, and Omenstein to that.
It certainly would have a renovated trailer back by then. I hope so.
Yeah, let's not promise that.
Yeah, let's just hope.
Yeah.
Let's pray and hope.
And if Joe, I can partner with you on a July presentation to city council too, if that helps.
Yeah, just send the date to me and we'll.
Second or fourth Monday. Do you have a preference?
Second week, right around the 4th. We might want to wait till
No.
the first, second Monday of July. Okay, it'd be the week
It'd be around.
July 4th is a Thursday.
Yeah, I think it'd be around the 8th or so, 7th or 8th.
Well, the second would be 16. It would be in the teens.
Okay. All right.
Yes, 7
Should
it'd
we
be.
try to get WHSV and Channel 29 involved in this?
Yes.
I would need some help with that. I don't have any connections there.
I don't have a connection.
It's gone.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
get
he's
coverage
got it.
from them.
Yeah,
I have a connection at WHSV.
they'll come if it's worth it to them.
Yeah.
But I think we got to get a press just together.
Oh, I would definitely agree, but what I'm thinking of with 29 in particular, I don't even know if WHSC does this, is they have that community conversation.
Yeah.
And
They do on WHSV as well.
that gets out there and people watch that.
But that's more of a, like Joe going over and having an interview or something.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
That'd be a double whammy versus a news piece. But that's a great idea. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, can you repeat?
Keep
that?
in mind that both of those television stations now are working together. They're sharing a lot of the same stories.
Owned by the same company.
Yeah, and so it may well be that and they run this show, they run the stories on both channels. And it may well be that you would get basically you get a lot of bang for your buck because whatever story is put together will run on both. I'm also wondering about something else, and I don't know, Tom, if this would fit in, where this would even fit into your agenda except for projects, except it's a wild idea. So do you want me to wait until you get to projects?
I think we've pretty much blown up our agenda, so go ahead and start.
So my idea is this, because I'm thinking, Bill, I'm thinking about fundraising and community visibility and that sort of thing. And Joe, didn't you tell us last time that we now have a person in Waynesboro who is the outreach person for education?
I think that's getting the i's dotted and t's crossed, but there is somebody who is very much interested. Christie's on
Okay.
vacation this week, so I won't be able to confirm, but that's what our goal is.
Okay. Well, what I'm wondering is if we do get into the budget cycle, and the money is going to be there, one of the first things we might consider doing in of course, addition to promoting the construction and updates and everything else, but if we could find a way for that person or perhaps some of us to start working on some units for teachers, so that they are anticipating the museum.
It's good stuff. I'm taking notes down, Carol.
Okay.
So I will say that we've had in the past 3 weeks, probably 7 or 8 school teachers come through. There was a pack of them from William Perry that hadn't been aware of the museum. There was also a teacher from Monterey. I think Mary might have passed that information on to somebody they're talking about it. But
She gave me a card.
she's been handing out the educational things, but there's definitely interest in the schools, as teachers rather. They're very, very interested.
I agree. Carol, I like it, and I can certainly discuss it with Christy when she gets back. Because I think having product just makes it seem more real.
All right, so I don't know where that leaves us in the agenda. I think we've already covered a lot of the advocacy stuff, unless there are any updates on the letter writing campaign. We talked about the purpose and timeline of the ad hoc committee. Are there any updates on the letter writing campaign, Joe, that you want to hit on?
No, other than that, we're very satisfied. I mean, let's put it this way: a lot of groups and a lot of folks said they were committing to writing a letter, and the feedback we've gotten from Richmond has been that they are receiving letters.
Please don't send any more.
Well,
I think
They know we're doing the job.
I
when
think they
say-
get the point.
Yeah.
and I can't remember who the quote was from, but I think you said at the board meeting that they were impressed by the variety of stakeholders who
Yes.
Good.
put that in.
Oh.
Was that
Well,
what-
I
was
mean,
that-
there's the city, there's Chamber of Commerce, the service clubs, board members, local citizens that are not really affiliated with any of the aforementioned, so yeah, I think that's true.
Joe, didn't you say at the board meeting, was it the Secretary of Education who had recognized the letter writing campaign?
She personally saw him?
Well,
That's the way I
well,
heard it.
they're addressed to her. I think we got word through her deputy. one of her
Okay.
Deputy Secretary.
Well, that's
okay.
good.
No, 100%, yeah, not trying to downplay it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. I guess projects, I know we're planning for the lecture series.
So Jenna gave me an update. She wasn't coming to the meeting, but she told me that she doesn't have a schedule for next year yet. And she probably won't get one until the Wayne Theater's Gala is over, which is on June 6th. And then after that, they'll have a schedule.
Okay. And as much as I regret it, I know that Jeanette is not going to serve on the ad hoc committee, but I know that she'll still remain very active with the Science Talk series. So
Yeah.
really appreciate her contributions over the years and going forward. We talked about the South River Preserve, the trailer rehab. Are there any other projects, upcoming events, Joe, that we want to
I
highlight?
want to thank Len and Mary Poulin for keeping the trailer open during the museum rodeo a couple of weekends ago. So
Kicked the Museum of Fine Arts' butt, I'll tell you.
yeah,
They had to shut down early. Their brand new shiny black trailer broke down. They lost their air conditioner, so they had to leave around 3. But we were open till 4.
And wasn't your estimate something like 400 people went
It
through
was 300, like 380 something, just under 400, based on the numbers, and we probably missed some. The
impressive.
counter's gone, so Mary was just trying to. I'll tell you what, it was busy as hell. Ann Pelletier came, the 3 of us were nonstop that whole day. It was just steady. It was very, very tiring, actually. And the museum, the fine arts guys came over. The guy that drove the truck who delivered it, Chris, he said hi.
Okay.
He goes, we really like this old trailer. And he goes, how are you powering it? I said, we're running a extension cord. It's like, we're low tech over here. But yeah, and the other guy came and said, I thought you guys did a great job setting it up. And I explained to Chris that your staff did all that interior stuff, and Joe fixed the roof 3 times and it's not leaking anymore. And all that.
3rd time's a charm.
Yeah, but yeah, it was really interesting. But yeah, they packed up and left early. They shut down actually because they didn't have any air conditioners. We don't know who needs air conditioning. Yeah, but it was a good crowd. It was definitely worth it. Very active. Last weekend was kind of slow. It was about, I think 30, just under 30. The week before was probably 70 or 80.
At the farmer's market?
At the farmer's market, which is hammering. I mean, they're just going. Definitely lobbing onto their little structures worked out for us.
I'm sorry we couldn't be there to help that weekend of the museum rodeo since that was our board meeting, but
Yeah.
thank you.
No, you're welcome.
And
I'll pass it on to Mary.
the next big one that we have on our calendar is Fall Foliage Fest, but we're going to be alerted by Megan in tourism about any other kind of one-off opportunities and so forth that we'd be able to participate in. But again, the calendar's a little iffy, given that we just don't have a timeline on the rehab.
So the carnival's coming to town
What's gonna happen?
in June 14th, so we're not gonna open the trailer that weekend. Just not worth it.
Last year there was.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Say the least. We're downwind of the portage on too.
Priorities.
It was not good all around.
We'll see what we can add in the rehab. That's the second story.
Anything else on upcoming events? I do know that there's the Groovin' on the Greenway series too, and I don't know, we haven't really participated in the past, but I have seen some community organizations out there during those events on Thursdays.
We might be able to do something periodically, but running the trailer in the summer without the HVAC is a bit problematic. To be blunt, when the trailer goes to the rehab specialist, part of what we're asking him to do is to provide us with specs, because Parks and Rec will work with us to see about connecting the trailer semi-permanently to the local power line. So that way we can run everything with just a flip of a switch, as opposed to an $800 rental of a generator. So if we can get that going, then climate won't be an issue. But until
to be honest with you, we opened it last summer for almost all of the Rubin Greenway, and it wasn't worth it.
Okay.
I mean, there's literally less than 10 people, and it was a little bit before the music started, and after that, you could have just forgot about it.
Yes. Yeah. We've noticed the same thing too, at plenty of other kinds of events, not necessarily related to Waynesboro, but there are certain events where people just they're not in the mood for a natural
Yeah.
history experience. It's music or it's
Yeah.
drinking or whatever it happens to be. You know, farmers market's cool, but that tends to be families.
Yeah.
So I think it's just different audience.
The kids.
Yeah, I think we're onto a good thing with partnering with the farmers market and keeping that going. And when the trailer returns, having that continue. Anything else about projects, upcoming events? That leaves us down to old business. I think we've actually talked about at least that there exist some naming opportunities, and we're working on that. And we talked about the letter that Carol and I wrote that was successful in finishing out the payments for the detailed design. So I guess we're down to open discussion. Is there anything anybody wants to bring?
Anything on the estate distributions in support of the Waynesboro project? Was that just a comment?
I believe that's a reference to having the board of the foundation commit those funds to pay out the detailed design. Is that right, Joe?
No, this is more specific, and I'll let Ryan handle the details, but we do have an opportunity for folks who want to in advance leave planned gifts to the museum. And we've received those in the past for our general endowment, but people can do it specifically for VMNH Waynesboro if they choose. So Ryan, can you just kind of walk through that process real quick, please?
Yeah, so we have quite a few resources on the website. It's fairly common that we get sort of contacted. So we actually have an attorney there in Waynesboro, John Hill with Poindexter Hill PC. So he's got a client who's wishing to leave the museum and specifically the VMNH Waynesboro campus in their estate. We don't have a name. We did reach out to see if we get any details, and he's going to defer to his client on that. So right now it's anonymous. But the good news there, the word gets out. We regularly work with attorneys, estate planners, accountants, whatever it might be, whether it's a gift of, whether it's stocks, securities, just the straight will. So yeah, definitely the resources are out there.
So I will say Ann Peltier's been pushing it big time to her sphere of influences, and keep in mind, they're all people that are in the market that have to make required annual distributions, because the market did so well last year, are going to have a lot more to donate before the end of this year. So there's an opportunity there. And Ryan, we kind of talked about it a little bit previously, but there is an opportunity to seize the moment, I think, this year. And she's thinking in her mind right now. In fact, she mentioned that the museum's got a natural history maze that you rent out that she saw online.
What's the status of the maze, Ryan? I know we've had that up and used it and have rented it and rehabbed it and used it again. I just don't recall where we stand with the functionality of the maze and availability.
Yeah, so the bones are still there. Well, the bones of the maze are available. It last went out in summer 2022. So just minor rehabs, it'll be ready to go out again. But currently it's not being rented out.
It got her attention, and she approached me and said, I would be interested in being a major benefactor if we brought that to Waynesboro. And she was we were brainstorming on how we could do that. We need some space. I don't know how many square footage you need. It wouldn't fit at the library.
No. It's about half the size of our special exhibit gallery. It takes up about half the.
So it's at least what, 4,000 or 5,000 square feet?
Oh, no.
2 or 3,000.
It's close to around 1,000 square feet. Ryan, does that sound about right?
That's right. There's two versions. There's the maze itself, which is about 900 square feet, and then we can supplement it for up to 3,000 square feet. So yeah,
And what's the
right
cost
around 1,000.
for a couple months? What do you guys charge to do that?
Anywhere from 12,000 to 25,000, just depending on which version goes out.
Well, she said she would be a sizable benefactor if we could get have a place for it and figure out how to make it happen. So I don't know if you've got some ideas of maybe space, but come back, and she's interested. I don't know if she would
3,000 square feet.
1 to 3?
1 to 3,000,
Yeah.
And there's like day thing, week thing, month thing, how long we're gonna run it for? What's the
I
duration?
think it's like 90 days, isn't it? Isn't that?
At least 90 days, but
Yeah.
I think we've done it up to 6 months.
How about over at the Children's Museum?
I don't know if it's, I guess it would be big enough, but yeah, we need a space.
Talking about Catherine.
Yeah, need a
So,
space.
Lynn,
Yeah,
would the idea be that in bringing this to Waynesboro, I mean, there would be a sizable donation that would go toward just the maze itself, but would the idea be that somehow that would help promote the new museum? Or I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
that's-
about that's a huge investment, and I'm wondering if that person could be talked into being a benefactor for the museum itself, as opposed to this maze.
well, she's already been a benefactor. She's a major giver right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
if she personally brought the maze here from the financial standpoint, and we set it up here, we would count that towards our Waynesboro account.
Yeah. Um,
That
she-
makes
it was
sense.
of interest to her.
Inside, right?
It's an
Yes,
inside.
yeah.
Yeah.
I could like this.
I mean, it'd be a great thing to, create traffic for somebody. That's what. So I told her I'd mention that.
Great.
Yeah. But keep in mind that, there's like, and she reiterated this the other day, we've got, these people have to make these larger distribution.
Dispersed.
Yeah, so it's a good time to promote that. Get it in here. Now, I have an open discussion. Here's a story. This happened 2 weeks ago. A mother came in with 2 children, and one of them was about an 18 or 19-month-old boy. It's about that tall, didn't speak a whole lot, but Mary engaged him on the touching thing, right? So she gets him with the mic, and the kid was just barely enough to, hold up the thing and look over the table. And he was totally immersed in this. The other kid went out. She got bored and was left. And the mother stayed with him, but he spent 20 minutes there. Well, I was talking over by the fossils where the footprints are. Well, he goes out of the trailer and then he comes running back in about 5 minutes later, and he squeezes in between these people I was talking to, the table and me, and he's standing there like this staring at me, right? So I waited till I was done, and I said, "So you're back?" And he picks up this thing and he hands it to me. It's a little stone that he had gone outside, and he goes, "Look," and he put it next, he goes, "A fossil." And I'm like, well, it could be. Actually, it was a piece of pavement, but this kid was totally into it, and he
That's
was
cool.
out there doing his little curate, because she told me, this is what curators do, and you're now a junior curator, and he was curating. It was cute as hell, but that's how engaging these kids, and lighting these kids up. It's really great to see it.
Yeah, that's a great story.
We call him one of the 15%. There are 15% of your customers that you're never going to do anything for. They've gotten dragged there. They ended up there somehow. They're on work release from prison, whatever, right? There's nothing you can do for them. So you just forget about them. Then there's the other 15%, like this kid, that you don't have to do anything for them because they're going to be the ones initiating the engagement because of their curiosity, their excitement and everything like that. It's the middle 70% that we try to concentrate on, the people who are like maybe a little curious, not sure, they've been to museums before, what's the big deal, then try to give them a really good experience. So he's one of that 15% we really like.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
he's an up and comer. He'll probably be taking your job.
I'm fine with that. That's good. Need new ideas. I can come up with the same old.
Tom, I want to give kudos to Greg and to Joe. They came to my Rotary Club, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? It's recent, very recent, and did a really superb job. Kind of on, I'll call it the State of the Union for Waynesboro and updates on the museum. It was very, very well received by our membership. Lots of chatter afterwards. You can always tell when there's a lot of interest by the amount of conversation. So kudos, gentlemen. Y'all did good.
Well, thank you.
Great.
Fellow
Yeah,
members,
let's make sure that gets reflected in the minutes, Ryan. I think that's great to recognize that contribution.
One of your members came up and grabbed one of our sample letters. She said she definitely wanted to write a letter to the secretary. So it was good to see that.
Awesome.
Good job,
All right,
boys.
y'all, we're almost at the hour. I just want to say I think that was a really good meeting. We got a lot covered. We got a lot of stuff coming up, and I look forward to following up on a couple of things with Greg and with Joe and the staff. And I guess we'll continue to hold these meetings jointly between the committee that represents the board of the museum and the committee that represents the foundation board. And our next meeting would be July 7th, a Monday, if you could put that on your calendar. And look forward to seeing you then, and I'll call us adjourned.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks,
Tom.
everyone.
See you guys.
Good to see you, Bill.
Yeah, glad to see you guys again.
All right,
Yeah.
Looking forward to this.
right on.
See you all.
Thanks.